Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Dialogue, the Diapoint podcast, where we discuss diabetes, health, wellness, health coaching, and other health topics. I'm your host, Pam Durant, and today I am solo on the podcast just for a few minutes. I did not do an episode last week, and Inike, my podcast producer, was like, hey, we should do one. And I just kind of went quiet and I didn't do it. And there were a few reasons for that. The main reason was because we moved. I moved just around the corner from where I was living before. And we live in Dubai. Our landlord was selling. And so we needed to move, and we'd been looking for a place for quite a long time. We wanted to stay in the same neighborhood. And we finally found a place, and it needed a lot of work. And moving itself is a lot of work. So I've been super busy and overwhelmed with those tasks because some of them were not going according to plan. It always helps to have a good project manager in those cases. And because I have some background and experience in project management, I ended up managing more than I really wanted to. But now we've moved. I can't say that we're settled. There's still work going on. I only got proper internet yesterday. And yeah. But I'm glad that we got to move over the Eid holiday so that gave us some time and space to unpack everything or most things. If you were celebrating, I hope you and your family had a wonderful Eid and that you were able to spend some time with your family, take some time off, and just really, really enjoy that space and time and coming out of fasting and reflecting on your Ramadan and everything else. I hope it went really well. If you were in Dubai or the UAE, the weather's been really beautiful. So I hope you were able to get out in nature and really enjoy that. Just before Eid, and kind of a crazy timing, but we had it planned long before, we took a quick trip to Germany at the beginning of April, which was beautiful and amazing. And it was also very cold. It even snowed. So since that time, things started to get really extremely busy, not because I was traveling, but even before then, it was very busy. But what it made me realize and reflect on, and we were in several places in Germany, had a car, we were driving around, and what I saw in Germany, it struck me as interesting. I saw fewer people on their mobile phones and interacting more face-to-face. Now, I'm not saying that in meaning it's a good thing or a bad thing. The beautiful thing about the UAE is that things here are moving very fast. There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of new technology being developed, and people are very mobile savvy, using their mobile phones for everything. Even years ago, before investing in apps was a big thing, back in like 2016, when I said I was going to open a company, and I told people I was starting Diapoint and speaking with different people in different organizations. And sometimes the first question that people would ask me is they would say, where's your app? And I'd say, well, we don't have an app yet. And maybe we'll make one, maybe we won't. People with diabetes are pretty teched out because they're followed all the time by their technology. They need to be using the technology, and you can use many beautiful apps to help you do that. But I wanted to pause. And the reason I tell you that story is because what I realize here is that we are on our phones more than maybe what I observe in some other countries. So went to Germany, every restaurant we went to, there was no one taking pictures of their meals. There was no influencer style kind of someone trying to get the perfect picture of themselves. Yeah, there were some places I went, there were live music and people were taking videos of the music and people having a nice time. But it didn't feel like it was constantly like we were living in that phone. And that got me thinking about my own addictions or dependencies on social media, for lack of a better word. We use it all the time. Because we have to for marketing, for my coaching. I coach people online. For Diapoint, we use it for marketing. But what I started to realize even before that trip is that we're missing that human-to-human connection. And since coming out of COVID, we wanted to really focus on that more. And so that's why we started the face-to-face parent coffee mornings. Those have been really beautiful, and people coming together, parents of children with type 1 diabetes, and just that human connection has been so nice. Outside of letting you know when and where it is, I don't really take any pictures there. You won't find videos or pictures of the people, because this is a sacred space where we're coming together for connection. It's not necessarily about sharing it on social media. That's not what it's about. And it's a gray area and a fine line, and it's so hard. And I see other organizations challenged with this. How much do you market on social media? How much do you talk about those connections? Did it really happen if it's not on social media, right? There's that too. So that was my first kind of like step back to see what I'm thinking about all of this and our strategy going forward. And of course, you'll still see us on social media and doing all the things, but you might see some shifts in how we go about it strategically. And we'll keep you posted about that. The other thing that I've been doing in my own personal life was with the overwhelm of project managing, the chaos around the move and then moving made me step back to realize that I was already working a lot and I didn't need to, or I could not sustain to continue to project manage a renovation during the day, source the materials, make sure the workers and everyone was doing all of their things. Yeah, we hired people to do that, but it didn't go so great. And that's when I shared the post about, the quality of who you surround yourself with or who you choose to work with is so important. And I made the analogy to health coaching. It's the same thing. It's no different. You don't necessarily need to pay tons of money to someone, but you want to make sure that you get the best that you can afford when it comes to your health and wellness, or when it comes to renovating a space. Because if you don't do that, then it can cause a lot of heartache and grief after. It has just been overwhelming. I learned a lot on the way. I learned that I can source materials, and I could probably be a pretty darn good contractor now with everything that I've learned. I think I could renovate houses really much more easily, having done all this work. But it was a lot. So I had to pull back on some things at Diapoint, which really frustrated me. But I knew that, I needed to move, and I needed a home, and I needed to make sure my child had a home and space to live in. So that took a little bit of precedence over a few things and caused some of the things that I was doing to feel overwhelming. And one of those was podcasting. And so we're not canceling the podcast, but I did have to pause for a couple of weeks with interviews. And also some guests were not available right now. We got some exciting guests coming up. But I thought, what can I let go of right now to make space for what I need to do? And then I can go back to it. And in all fairness, there's nobody like knocking on my door going, hey, where's your podcast? Outside of my team and my podcast manager. And I appreciate their support in helping me to continue to drive it forward. But I just thought it's going to be okay if I have to step back for a week or so. Nothing's going to fall apart. The world's not going to stop spinning. And here we are. And the sun rose today and everything was great and it was fine. So in doing that, it's been really good because it gave me the space to declutter, which I'm a huge fan of. And I don't think we all do enough of it. Decluttering your living space when you're moving, or if you're not moving, is so important for so many reasons. And I'm sure if you're listening, you'll agree that after doing it, you feel so much lighter, unbelievably lighter. And it feels good to get rid of those things that we don't need anymore. And you always hear a lot of people talk about decluttering in your life or relationships or things that no longer serve you, right? And we also need to do that in our health and wellness. So if you declutter and you do it well, it helps you reduce stress. It can help you reduce anxiety. Sometimes clutter makes makes us feel overwhelmed or disorganized. I know it does me. Sometimes I get to the point where, especially in my office, you're working, and things just keep building up. And then to the point where it's overwhelming. And if you don't remove it, you can't really work productively or be productive. The same with your health. If your health is cluttered, and whether that's with the food that you're eating, if it's very cluttered with processed food or other things that aren't serving you or aren't making you feel well, then it becomes overwhelming sometimes. And then you don't even know where to begin. And I even saw this as I was decluttering my own pantry and moving my food. I saw and I found some stuff in the back of the cabinet that like was not serving me, or that I really didn't need, or that my son didn't need to eat. Nobody in the house needs to eat it. We all need to eat healthy, fresh, plant-based foods. And we know that. But sometimes over time, slowly, little things can creep into our life and take up space when we could have much better, healthier habits that will serve us better. It'll also help you save money. You won't buy unnecessary things. If you're decluttering your home, you'll move up some space in your home, and maybe you can put a beautiful plant there instead of this other thing that's cluttering a corner. It was just a really great experience. And I don't wait until I move to declutter. I do try to do it a few times a year. Some people call it spring cleaning, and I try to do it once a quarter, at least get my workspace and my main living space organized so that I can be more productive, happier, and feel lighter. So if you're thinking to do some decluttering and you're not really sure where to start, setting aside some time each week, start small, might even be 15 minutes a day. Or sometimes when I feel extremely overwhelmed and I don't have to move, I'll just go and look at a room and I'll say, okay, there's this corner. I'm going to focus on just that corner or just that bookshelf. And I start and I sort through it. I keep some of it. I can donate a lot of it. And I do that, giving away clothes, or also recycling. There's a lot that we can recycle or reuse, or sometimes I'll even repurpose some things I see in my home. I might be able to use it in my garden or other things like this. I try not to throw things away unless it's absolutely necessary, because there are people out there that can use our things that we don't need, and you might even find different uses for them. And as you go through all of these items, decide what's worth keeping and what you can discard or donate. So I tend to make 3 different piles. And then when it's all done, your space will be much more organized, and it'll help you reduce the clutter in the long run. Even if it's just a corner, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a good place to start. So look at your health as well and pick one thing. What's in the corner? What is that one thing that you can do to start decluttering your health? Have a think about it. Let me know. You can drop a comment at the podcast as well, what you want to declutter, whether it's your food. Is it your sleeping space? Maybe the space has to do with your health as well. Decluttering your sleeping space so you don't have a lot of, like I'm just looking now where I'm sitting, since I don't have my permanent workspace up yet. There's a lot of clutter because boxes were unpacked. So there's some cables, there's like newspapers I haven't had time to read yet, lamps and other things that I'm going to sell, some things I'm going to give away, some books. So it's all overwhelming, and it's not going to support good sleep hygiene. So that's just an example of how you can think about your space and your health and declutter everything together. So as I mentioned, when I was in Germany, that kind of set off the inspiration to think about decluttering and connecting. And it was wonderful to see so many people connecting. When I came back, it got me thinking again about when I originally started Diapoint, and one of the main things that I wanted to focus on, and that I really wanted for people with diabetes, for children with diabetes, and people in their health and wellness. And first and foremost, we have announced that we are joining forces with ASPED, the Arab Society of Pediatric Endocrinology and Diabetes, and we are going to organize a diabetes family camp later in the year. This is for families that have a child or children with type 1 diabetes. Now, we were going to do this before COVID, February of that year, that famous year, we had a picnic. At that time, I said, let's start small and do a 1-day meetup, and anyone can come, anyone interested in health and wellness and diabetes. And we would do it as a kind of a picnic or a fair. We had so much support and so many people signed up. And even Team Novo was going to send an ambassador here all the way from Spain, which was above and beyond anything I expected. And they were the first to pull out when people started talking about this virus that was going around. And I thought, And then slowly we kept hearing a little bit more from the Ministry of Health, and then different things. And then, COVID, and we know the rest of the story and how it all went. So we had to postpone it. And while some of the world opened up rather quickly and went back and people started gathering again, still people with diabetes were a little bit skeptical. And so we took our time to think about the best way to go about doing it. But now, with all of that behind us, it is time, and we are going to connect, and we are going to connect in a big, beautiful way. It's going to be so much fun, so uplifting. We will have educational activities for children with diabetes, for parents and siblings. There'll be team building. There'll be a lot of fun games. We're still working on some of the details for the date, and we will let you know as soon as we know. You'll be the first to know. Get on our newsletter, listen to the podcast, follow us, follow our social media at Diapoint ME, so that you can be the first to know when that happens. I can tell you it is most likely going to be in November of this year. So while that sounds like a long way away, it'll be here before you know it. So you don't want to miss out. So you'll want to get on our mailing list for that. If you'd like to give us some input about it, we have a survey open right now where we're getting feedback, just to get a better understanding of the age of the children with type 1 diabetes that might be joining, and how many family members, because this isn't just about the kids. And of course, they are precious and first and foremost. But like I always say, when one person in the family gets diabetes, no matter what kind, it does affect everyone in different ways. So this is about all of us. This is about everyone, and about everyone coming together and connecting. And we have so many special things planned for you. We cannot wait. And Asped will be joining us Asped will be joining us. I'm in the middle of a recording. Sorry, Anike. I was thinking I'd get through this one without having to interrupt. And Asped will be joining us, and this will ensure that the program is of a high quality, great education, great activities. Anike, if you are an organization or a company or a clinic and you would like to be a part of this event, please reach out to us at info@diapointme.com. We'd love to have you join us. Just drop us an email and we'll send you more information about how to get involved and sponsorship information, things like that. If you'd like to volunteer to host an activity or something like this, please let us know. We'd also love to see you there. Again, send us an email at info@diapointme.com. We cannot wait to see you there and connect with more families and our superheroes who are living with type 1 diabetes. It's all about connection. Lastly, if you are a business or brand looking to expand your reach and connect with potential customers, you can do that at the camp that I mentioned, but you can also showcase your unique value in products that your business offers by becoming a sponsor of this podcast. Dialogue, the Diapoint podcast, is dedicated to providing an in-depth look into the topics of health, wellness, and diabetes. Our guests come from a variety of backgrounds. We interview experienced leaders in the industry, as well as people who are highly motivating and achieving amazing things. And if you've listened to some of our previous podcasts, I'm sure you've heard some of the guests, some of the athletes, some of the doctors, and they're so inspirational. And make me want to do better every time. And we will continue to have guests like that. As a sponsor of the podcast, your business will be featured in one or more of our episodes. This provides a great opportunity for exposure that will allow your business to stand out among competitors. We offer a variety of competitive rates with packages to suit your budget. Our audience consists primarily of people who are interested in improving their health and wellness and are in search of your valuable advice on how to achieve success. By sponsoring the show, you'll have the chance to target these important individuals. If you're listening, yes, you are so important to us. If you would like further information or have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at info@diapointme.com. And this brings us to the end of this episode, where we will be back as soon as possible with more guests, more topics to discuss. I've been receiving also some feedback from some listeners about some ideas for topics that are much needed, which are fantastic ideas. So we're going to work those in as well. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to share it with your friends or someone who you might think benefit from the content of Dialogue, the Diapoint podcast. We ask you to do this because this allows us to keep doing the show and attract high quality guests in the areas of health, wellness, and diabetes. I truly appreciate your support on this. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to the next episode with you soon.